Sweet. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the Hollywood Critics Association after show for the after party, or just we are the after party. So I'm Rick Hong, and I'm joined by my friends to my, let's see, I guess to my left, maybe to your right if you guys are watching, Mr. John Rocha. Introduce yourself, Mr. Rocha.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Rocha. I'm the head of the outlet for the Outlaw Nation. You can find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to go and see the stuff I do on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/John Rocha Says.
The Outlaw. And we also have Adriana Gomez-Weston joining us. Adriana, please say hello. Adriana, do we have you? We got you frozen?
Uh-oh.
She's coming, guys. She's there. I can hear something.
Adriana, hello.
Adriana, do you want to try coming back in?
Yes, hear me?
Maybe. Oh, yeah. Okay, now we gotcha.
Yeah. Sorry, my stuff is going really slow on my end for some reason again. But yeah, I'm Adriana. I'm part of the Cinema Soloist. I have my own website, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Adriana in Bloom.
And normally we also have Jana on camera, but today I guess she wanted to be Jana off camera. Wah, wah. So she will be back with us next week to give us her opinions on everything about the after party. However, I think that she's missing out for this week because this was a crazy episode of all the episodes that we've seen so far, and kind of like an anticipated one because we, as if Anik is kind of our protagonist, and we're kind of seeing that Zoe has been the goal for the show. So this is finally her episode. And so not only do we kind of see her side of the episode, hey, you know what? Lord and Miller decided to do their thing. I don't know. They know that it's award season. They know that they're up for Mitchell versus the Machines. I don't know if they still had all those guys on staff. So they decided, hey, you know what? We know how to do this. Let's put everybody into animation and have a fun way to tell her side of the story. So the Outlaw, John Rocha, I want to know, just curious, your initial thoughts on seeing the animation.
Yeah, it was really nice to see that animation because it kind of brings to mind the late 90s, early 2000s style of animation, kind of was it Daria is kind of leading into Dexter's Laboratory and Kim Possible. That kind of interesting look to it all, kind of and the artwork of it all I thought was really nice to see here, and telling her story, the three sides of her, what we're getting there from Zoe. So I like that we got to see a lot of what she was going through, the three different sides of her personality, or the five different sides of her personality, as people do have. You've always got that party personality, you got the responsible personality, you got the angry personality, you got the mama bear or papa bear personality, you got all that, and the little inner rage child that is still angry about certain things from since you were a kid. So all of that, I thought the animation worked really well, and jumping back and forth between the live action and the animation was really good. And this was a great way to showcase Zoe, who we've kind of seen as, kind of like the good girl, or the girl that, everybody seemed to like and really enjoy. We get to see a little more depth and complexity to her as a character, and a little bit of making fun of her, because you see her kind of swinging back and forth, trying to simulate what that conversation is like for Tiffany Haddish's character. And that was fun to watch, to see a little more humor with her as well. But it is one of the best episodes we've had so far to kind of show you the real depth and complexity to this person, and also kind of give Ike Barinholtz's character a little bit more credibility, because he did apologize to her. That actually did happen. That wasn't just in his mind. She saw it as well as a legitimate apology to her, and we get a little more with her feelings with Anik, how authentic those are as well. So I enjoyed that.
Well, Adriana, let me ask you, this episode, this is Zoe's episode. And I was like, as I was talking to our viewers and watchers and with John, this is animated. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to know what your kind of initial reactions were to seeing the animated episode.
It was a pleasant surprise. So I know, for the first few episodes, they have been doing this different genre, but I thought it was a very interesting choice to go with animation. Considering it's mostly a 90% live action show. Mm-hmm. But I thought it was a very great way to showcase her different personalities. Originally, when we first see her, she's very straight-laced. John said she's a good girl, so you don't really I mean, at first glance, you wouldn't think she has all this internal dialogue going on inside of her, but I thought it was really great how they had like the mama bear version, like the cool one, like, and then like the hippie
She's
and
a
the little
stoner.
lady.
Yep. Mhm.
Oh yeah, so I really like that to show that she has all these things going on and there's a lot more than what other people see. And I think a lot of other people in the show view her as, maybe minus Brett, view her as kind of like maybe like this perfect girl or this perfect person who doesn't really have any issues or anything going on. But I really liked how they showed that. And like also with the storyline with Brett, like he's telling the truth. And I like to see that her feelings for Anika are actually valid and not something he concocted in his mind. So
Yeah, for me, I like seeing the animation and like kind of seeing the similarity. You know, like I was saying, I was telling John and everybody else too that Lord and Miller, they initially started off doing animation. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Yeah.
This season, they're up for they're up for Mitchell versus Machine. So like I kind of like seeing the animation trying to compare. To me, it felt a little like John, I like how you bring up the Kim Possible, but like to me too, I could kind of see the resemblances of like kind of the animation that they used in Mitchell versus the Machines.
Yeah, sure.
And so John, let me ask you, okay, so now,
Mhm.
okay, not just in general, like the episode and everything else,
Yeah.
what did you think of each kind of animated character? Because it's, because it's always hilarious to see when, because like we as people, like normally we, like there's like the people at the fairs and everything that do like kind of the bad caricature versions of you. And you're like, that doesn't look like me. And I think the only two times that I've ever had a version of me done like that is, like a gazillion years ago, they had a chance where you could upload your pictures and they would show you what you would look like if you were a Simpsons character.
Right.
And then at the Grove a few years later, they had an installment where you would take a picture and it would morph you into like the Avatar alien.
Oh, wow.
So those are the only two that I have. So as I was watching this, I thought it was hilarious that, like I thought Ike Barinholtz's character really looked like they really accentuated his features. But I don't know if anybody for you like stuck out, John, or if there's anybody that you're like, I didn't quite 100% see that looked like them, but I appreciated that they tried.
Well, certainly the Ike Barinholtz thing is a great one to bring up because initially, obviously, she's like, "Oh, so you heard it? Basically, he had a fart mouth. He had a fart mouth because you just see his cheeks become two butt cheeks and his tongue stick out as it's saying all kinds of nonsense." And then by the end, when he actually comes and apologizes, his face is completely different, which I think is a nice kind of change in how she's seeing the animated version of him. But it also works for oh God, what's the actress's name? The one from Broad City. I forget her name.
Oh, Ilana Glazer. So
Ilana Glazer.
Chelsea.
Chelsea's character, because Chelsea, when she first shows up, when we see her animated, she is a straight up mess, and she looks real kind of weird looking. Her hair is in a weird place. Also, it looks like her, but it looks like a really weird version of her as she's drunk and spilling the wine, and the inner child comes out and kind of beats her up in her mind. But then later, when we see her like realize that she used to be friends with her and they need to repair that, Chelsea is a lot differently drawn. She looks a little more composed, put together. There's a little more grace in how she sees her at that point. So I think those are like little clever twists they do with the animation that really works and stuck out to me in terms of the look of the characters in this, because Anik looks the same. Ben Schwartz's character looks the same. Dave Franco, that look is so weird with the hair in a certain position and him singing into his phone. So all of that, I thought they did a really great job of kind of highlighting the look of most of these characters and then adjusting them according to her perception of them as the story goes along.
Adrian, so how about for you, just kind of seeing like each character? Is there one more that you kind of like, yes, I really think they did an awesome job of animating that person versus like somebody else? Or did you kind of all like them together? Or maybe you're like, dude, it didn't sell me.
I really liked it. I thought it was funny because I noticed like she is an artist and she does draw a lot. So I wonder if that's how like she pictures them in her mind and like her little animated like inner dialogue. So like I did like how they did change their looks, like with Brett, he looks more buffoonish, like especially in the beginning, and then kind of clean him up a little bit. So when I first saw him, I thought it was hilarious because I was thinking maybe in her mind that's how she sees him, as like this buffoon, like this butt mouth, as or whatever. And then I don't think I noticed anyone too much. I know Walter was there. He looked like himself, but it wasn't like a huge. I don't know, like he's in the background, basically like he is in the live action version. But yeah, like I really thought it was humorously done, and I like how creative it was. It was great.
Okay, before we get to my thoughts, then, since you brought up Walt, since you brought him up, okay, Rocha, what do you think, man? Because it's like, you're always like kind of like, I don't know about this guy or whatever, but he shows up in the animation. So therefore, even if he didn't go to school with them, this guy exists. Like we can't deny that, even though everybody else, he's a forgettable guy to everybody else. Come on. Animation's the truth, right? If he's there in the animation, it's almost kind of he's got to be there, like, okay, weird, where's Waldo type thing. So what do you think? What do you think about Walt, like as the character now in this animation and in Zoe's story?
It's a good question, because I was watching this with my girlfriend and she leaned over, she goes, oh, he did it. He totally did it. So I don't know. I don't know how to. It seems pretty obvious that he's the choice. So I hate to go with the obvious choice, because it does. Initially, it felt like, oh, maybe. But once they did the high school one, I felt like that immediately ruled him out in my mind as a possibility, because he's just so wanting to be a part of their group. I don't think unless he did it in a way to like think that if I kill this guy, then they'll like me and they'll finally remember who I am. That's a possibility. So you're right. We see Walt in, I think, one animated scene. He just kind of flies in and out or whatever, and then we see him later when
he's doing the karaoke.
That's
so
right.
Like
karaoke.
and even in his story, he was doing the karaoke.
Yeah,
so that's where I was like, kind of like, okay, because I saw him in the background and I was like, all right, whatever. I was like, that's Walt. I was like, maybe that's like a goose egg or like an Easter egg. But then he's doing the karaoke, so I was like, okay, clearly like he shows up on some end. So
he's there. So clearly she knows he was there at some point, but maybe what she said was someone was up there singing and I kind of rolled up in there. So who knows if she actually still knows his name or not. I don't think she says Walt or anything like that. And then eventually later on, we have that live action scene where Walt thinks that Ben Schwartz is talking to him when he's completely not talking to him at all. But at least he's noticing him a little bit more. So yeah, I mean, I'm back on the fence on Walt. I still think Ben Schwartz is the guy who did it, but I'm even less convinced that Walt is the guy. That's for sure.
Well, it's funny because, we had a viewer, listener, comment in our YouTube, which I appreciate, calling me out a little bit and saying like Rick's theories are bunk, saying, cause like I was thinking maybe it's Jennifer too. I was thinking, maybe Eugene, decides to kind of off himself. So he was like saying, no way. He's like, Rich, so like appreciate those comments in there. And anybody else that wants to comment and, put their thing in, please do, because I love reading them. So here's my interpretation of the animation. So it's interesting because I love seeing all the stuff. It's interesting that Ike Barinholtz, Brett, in real life, he's good looking guy, very talented, but he has an interesting look. And I love like how they did him as animation, made me laugh. I thought that Anik looked more like Anik with the drawings on his face animated than without it. And then I don't know, it's like maybe because I'm Asian and, sometimes maybe we're just a little bit harder to draw, but like Zoe, in Zoe, like she's only like half, but I didn't quite buy her animation for this episode. I thought a lot of the other characters looked like themselves, or like they were able to kind of accentuate the features on everybody. I didn't quite buy Zoe's, but at the same time too, like Zoe had a lot of different versions of herself. So like, and I appreciated like that extra, like clever way of telling the story by saying, you know what, we have an opportunity to do this in animation. So we'll pull one version of her out. And then they pulled the other versions out. So like, and Adriana, I know that you appreciated that. Like, John, how about you? Because I wasn't expecting to see more than just the one party version.
Yeah. I didn't understand. I didn't expect it either. And yet we got that. And so it was nice to see these different versions and compare them to each other and then see which one you think works overall. But then don't we see the progression of the party personality as well? Don't we? Like the growth as the party goes along. Don't we get that by the end?
Yeah, we do. No, we completely
Yeah.
do. And no, it's, yeah, we see all the, right. We see the personalities of, not only Zoe herself, party Zoe,
Yeah.
stoner or hippie Zoe, as
Zoe.
Adriana like correctly like also states, and then Mama Bear, like they all kind of come together as one. So,
but it was nice to see that their idea of the party through their minds and through their versions and their interpretations, and the battle she's having. Because, by the way, when we saw her in all the different live action versions, we don't necessarily see her struggling with these two sides of herself. So clearly she's done a really good job of masking that, even though it's kind of dancing around inside of her. And certainly that scene with the helicopter now looks a little bit different, because clearly party Zoe was on that helicopter mentally already. And that's why there was a weird kind of indecision with Anik, and then she took off with Dave Franco. So yeah, no surprise there to see those different versions, and then eventually coming together. The Mama Bear was my favorite one for sure. I mean, just the growling as words is perfect.
Well, Adriana, so like in this episode was like of the different personalities or the scenes or the interactions, was like, did you have like a favorite kind of dialogue scene that happened between the personalities and kind of seeing Zoe's story?
I think I like, there's two I liked. I did like in the beginning when they get to the reunion, and Zoe is talking with Anik, and then the cool one is like, oh, why are you like wasting your time with him? Go over there and talk to Eugene or Xavier. So she's like having that thing going on, like he's boring, but you want to be cool and like get back at your husband by going with the cool celebrity guy and that. So I really like that dialogue, and I also like that little moment where the little angry version of her comes out and like stomps on Chelsea. So like that obviously didn't happen, but in her mind she probably wants to attack her and like go get away, and in her mind. So I like that.
For me, it was interesting watching, because like for me, I like seeing how they recreated, I guess, recreated the Walt karaoke part, how they recreated the Brett karaoke part, how they recreated the Zoe karaoke part. Because like I think I just love seeing it like when it was live. So to see them recreate it in the animation and they're all up there singing, I was like that is pretty hilarious. But Adrian, I gotta agree with you too. It's just like, sure, like I like the area of like where it's just like, no, that's just Eugene. No, you got to get with Xavier because he's the rock star. Like that was awesome. So I mean, so what do we like? So okay, so this is Zoe's part, like Zoe's kind of her, like because we don't see it with the other characters. We see just kind of like the one side, the live side. So we see it with like the different personalities. So like, do we think that it helped kind of propel the story forward, like having all the little like dialogues with the thing and like help us understand Zoe more? Or do we think that like it was maybe a little bit distracting or took away? Like, do we think it added to the story or not? Outlaw, Rocha, I'll start with you.
Well, I think what it did was this episode is like a full stop, right? Because Zoe, in a way, has become our most trusted person, just because she hasn't shown any of those kind of out there characteristics, like Anik is a bit nervous. Ben Schwartz's character is constantly up in everyone's thing. Walt has no idea if anyone remembers him or not. And the two Catherines are just kind of, reverting back to who they were in high school with their pregnancies and stuff. And so you have all of these characters doing, and Ned we still haven't heard much from him really. Is that right, Ned? Is that
Yeah. Calvin Yu. Yeah, we have it.
Calvin Yu's been keeping it chill on the sidelines, having occasional moments of anger, and then going back in high school and seeing him be like a ladies' man. But we haven't seen much of him. So this is everyone is kind of doing their thing, and then we're seeing now Zoe as the most normal one. So her points of view on things, in a way, we've kind of gone out there in the first 5 episodes. And although this is a little fantastical because it's animated, it also is kind of telling us, okay, here's what is actually possibly the truth of every interaction that has been told. And we do get the revelation that it was Zoe who was drawing on Anik. It was Zoe who put that stuff on him, which I think is a massive reveal. And we see that Anik was just about to close the deal, but he got too drunk. It happens at parties. You get too drunk because you're nervous, and then you stumble around, say the wrong things, and you act like an ass and blow your chance. And he threw up, fell down, his pants fell down, and he fell down and passed out. And so she indulged herself, and wrote and messed around with him and did all that stuff. So clearly that's going to be something that they're going to have to confront down the road. But I like that we got a little more of the facts for the most part of the situation here, because we've been way out there in left field with some of these stories. So Zoe kind of centered us as we go into the last 3 or 4 episodes of this show, which I think is perfect time to put that in there.
Adriana, how about for you? I mean, did you feel like having all the different personalities and the animation, like, do you think it added and gave more depth to the story and pushing the story like along? Or did you kind of think it could have been like a little distracting? Because it's so separate from the other episodes to a degree.
I think it did a good job of adding. So I think especially in relation to like Brett, where his is like this huge, overly dramatic action flick. I mean, hers is dramatic too, but you can see like her side of things where he's trying to save the day and she sees him as kind of like a nuisance and like pain. But like I like how you have that contrast like in that interaction, and then like you have Anik over here who has her as like this idealized person, and like it's like very like romantic and like funny, but in her eyes it's a little less, I don't know the word, but it's a little less like dramatic for her. But she likes him, but it's not like playing out like with in his mind. So I really like that. And I think it does really help because I feel like since she's more of like a neutral, very happy-go-lucky character, hers is more closer to the truth. And as of now, I still don't feel like she's a suspect just yet because she really has not an exact reason to like off anybody, but I think, yeah, that does give us a lot more truth as opposed to everybody's kind of overblown, like dramatic, overly dramatized, like vision of things.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we kind of had the breakdown of all the different characters. We started with, like I said, kind of our protagonist. We started, and then like she's kind of the goal. Do we like the sequence? Because like I believe there's 2 episodes left. There's 2 episodes left for the whole series. So do we like the fact that she shows up in episode 6 versus early on? John, what do you think? Like, do you like her placement in the story? Do you think that maybe we could have gone a couple more episodes and then have her and then wrap the story? Or you're like, it's a perfect kind of like after the halfway point of putting her?
Do you mean Zoe? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, Zoe. Yeah, Zoe's story. Zoe's perspective.
Like I said, we've had those 5 kind of out there retellings of what happened this night. We needed someone that could make the audience feel like this is a reliable narrator. And I think that's the service that Zoe fulfilled here. She is the reliable narrator. Now we have some corroboration for some of the things that have happened here throughout the night through someone who we trust the most, which is Zoe. And so for me, I think that was really important to have it. If there's 2 episodes left in this show, then it's perfect to have this episode be the one that kind of solidifies everything. So now we're on equal footing. All of us are on somewhat equal footing. We can kind of assume certain things are facts as we go into these last 2 episodes. And remember, Tiffany Haddish's character, she's got a issue here because the captain now knows what's happening and now is possibly going to shut this thing down, as we saw at the end of the episode. So this was perfect. Get everybody on equal footing. Now we might be removing the one person who has been trying to get all this information, line it up, and find out who the killer is. So in a way, a version of ourselves is her. She essentially stands in for the audience because she's the one asking them everything that happened that night, and she's learning it as we're learning it. So that makes sense to kind of have this be the episode where they solidify a few things so we can all go forward with a certain understanding as we go into these next 2 episodes.
Adriana, so how about for you? Do you think that did you like the fact that Zoe's episode is 6? Do you think that it maybe could have come sooner? Like maybe they could have put Anik's side of what he thinks in episode 1 and then pop her in episode 2 and then kind of build the other people's story around that? Or do you think like she's like right good for like after the halfway point and as we're getting closer to the end? Do you like the placement of her story and like the reveals that we've had?
I do like her placement because like I mentioned earlier, they have like she's a big part of a lot of people's stories. So she's a big part of Anik's story. She's a big part of Brett's story. She's a big part of Chelsea. So it's really good to see their perspectives of her first and like their like different kind of skewed perception of events. And then it's good to see her because she's more reliable. So she's piecing, just kind of like them, like I wouldn't say like almost like a puzzle piece to help put all these other pieces together and tie in all these other stories that came beforehand.
Yeah, I'm interested when Jana off camera right now, but when Jana on camera comes back, I'm interested to see if she likes where the placement of Zoe's story was. Yeah. So okay, so let's get this then. Collectively, at least between us three, we look at it as Zoe's not a suspect.
Right. It doesn't feel
she has no motivation to have wanted to off Xavier Eugene.
Right.
And and anywhere in her story, like we don't see like an accidental push or anything to like where like, you know, to where he's gonna, you know, that's how he croaks, which would be, you know, kind of pathetic. But Adriana, like you agree, like she doesn't sniff of being guilty.
Not really. I mean, I'll be shocked if it does end up being her, but as of now, like from everybody's like perspective and even the high school episode, there's really no reason for her to like kill Xavier. She wants nothing from him, and there's nothing in the past that was tied to him. So
what I want is our viewers, our watchers, our listeners to chime in and to agree with us and say, hey, for once we all got it right, that Zoe is not the suspect, the killer in this show for this particular season. So, well, okay, so let's talk about it for a second. So now we've seen like I said, when we opened up on the series, you know, we saw Anik's motivation about wanting to go to the reunion, wanting to reconnect with her, thinking that he was like, maybe he missed his one shot twice or whatever it is. And he, along with Jasper, are listening in to the, you know, Zoe's like inner thoughts, her side of the story and what's really going on. So John, what did you think of him, like actually like being able to listen and hear like what she actually had to say about the way she views Anik?
I didn't like it, to be honest with you. He's spying on her thoughts. He's spying on her point of view, her thoughts and feelings about these situations. And, you know, to me, I always feel like it's a violation of someone's privacy. No matter how much you like them or you want to know if they like you or not, it's a violation of their privacy to kind of want to hear those things. So it was played for funny laughs but Anik is slowly becoming someone that is a bit unsavory. You know, he was kind of mean to Eugene back in high school. And in his mind, he's playing the awkward, nerdy guy as we saw from the first episode. But as we've seen his other people see him in their stories, he's not as clean as we were led to believe from the beginning. So to me, I'm starting to see this. There's a little bit of a desperate nerd rage kind of thing bubbling underneath him because like he clearly has no problem lying or being sneaky to get information that he wants to get. Right. I mean, when Jasper told him, hey, we can program this to listen in on other people's stories. And although he wants to solve the crime, I still think for me, he's violating people's privacy. And that's kind of a big deal. And I think when Zoe finds out, that's going to be the final nail in the coffin for any opportunity he would have had with Zoe, to be honest with you, because instead of trusting that he was enough, the fact that he's using these nefarious tactics, to me, kind of paints him in a little more of a negative light than we were initially led to believe about him.
Man, I need to pull out like my dictionary, my Webster's. I need to pull out my Encyclopedia Britannica. John Rocha using the word nefarious to describe Anik. So, okay. So basically what you're saying is that if we open up on this series and we thought that it might be like a root for boy gets the girl, you know, like the nerd guy gets the girl. Instead for you now, your like thing is for the show is I just want to know who the murderer is. I don't even care about this guy anymore.
No, not at all. And I think that when Zoe came at the end and she said, like, we can have fun once we learn to embrace all the elements of our personality and not judge all the elements of our personality. Her story is done. Like, she has gone on her quest in this tale and she has found her goal. And that is to understand, to accept herself for who she is, to create space for all the different sides of her personality to coexist more than once every 7 years. And I think that's the power here. So Anik is no longer necessary, and he would be a burden to her rather than an elevation of her. And so I think that's where I sit now with Anik, because Anik is a ball of nerves, a ball of issues. And I just don't think that he in this current state is the right guy to be with her in where she's at right now. So yeah, that's my overall thoughts on that. So I don't care. I don't want them together. I don't want them together.
I love that. Adriana, how about for you then? I mean, so like, you know, we get the revelation that, you know, like Anik gets to hear, you know, what Zoe's actually like, how she actually feels and kind of thinks about him. And he's a little bummed by that. And it's none of it's like that terrible, but then do you agree with John on you kind of on that thing? Cause of like, when you first watch the show, you know, you think like you were saying, Adriana, you said like that first episode's kind of like the rom-com, you know, like you want to see like the guy get with the girl, but now as the story has gone along, has that kind of dropped off for you as well?
I think I agree. I didn't actually think of it that way, but John put a really good argument on what's going on with Anik. So I think now that I think about it, yeah, I haven't cared as much whether he gets with Zoe or not. I just want to know who did it. At this point, that's like my number one concern. Like, who did it? I don't care about who gets together with who or what goes on, or, you know, if anything's repaired. I just want to know who did it once and for all, because at this point, we're still not completely sure, or we don't have like a solid, I guess, agreement yet on who actually did it. But yeah, I think, yeah, he's not as like likable as the series goes on. Like he's a good starting point, and he was very likable in that first episode. So he's like this geek that's like lurking to turn his life around, and who's up against like this popular celebrity guy. But yeah, but like I guess you were saying, you have these unsavory things he's done. Like he has anger issues. Like he got in the fight with Xavier, broke his car. You know, he's kind of picking on him, spying, and of course he's really anxious and like almost thinking back to that thing where he made like the mixtape thing. So he is a little obsessive over Zoe, even especially after all these years. Like, has he gone out with anybody else, or what would happen if this thing didn't happen? So would he just, you know, or if she didn't have interest in him, would, you know, he just move on with his life? That's a big question. So.
Right.
I will gladly admit that I definitely have been that guy that has shot myself in the foot, maybe drank a little too much, acted like a dumbass, and totally blown my chance and knew it. So, but at the same time, but as I watch this, it's like, I kind of agree. It's like, I can't really feel for him. And I was actually kind of surprised by that scene, you know, where he comes up with the guitar and he's just like, oh, blah, 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 and pukes. And he's like, oh, I dropped my pants. And then he falls over. And then also to see, you know, Zoe come over there. And that's what I liked. It's like, I even like went back and I paused it for a second. You know, she opens up. So she writes on his chest from her point of view. And to look at the handwriting. I wanted to see like the animated handwriting to see, you know, just in case, maybe if there was like an Easter egg there or something for us, if they're trying to throw us off the scent, to see if it was there. And man, it is not. That 3 diarrhea E does not exist on the writing of that chest. Granted, we're still hearing from her point of view. So who knows, her animated point of view, who knows if that's, you know, actually, you know, who knows if like that's actually like true or not. So okay, so now at this stage, we've ruled out. So we've heard her story. Which I guess like John, you definitely look at it as like the most truthful in some areas, but we see her part of the story. We've kind of like come across to say we don't think that it's Zoe. John, who do you think that it is? Do you have like? Let's just go like if we've got her like her part of the story now. If you had to make a judgment. Who do you think that it is?
I still think it's Jasper. I'm really 100% in the camp of Jasper. I think there's jealousy that Xavier went off and became super famous. The fact that Jasper was the one installing the AV equipment when he doesn't even have a business. Remember, he couldn't even pull out a card. What guy who runs his own business doesn't have a card always on them for business to constantly, you know, create new clients? So that kind of makes me unsettled. So, and there's a little bit of jealousy here. And if he's cooked up the AV, something tells me that he's been listening to all this stuff with Xavier. He's probably been listening to him in his house and all of this. So what does he know that kind of might motivate him to do the things that he did? So, I mean, I find that to be a really fascinating aspect of this all. And he seems to be like, hey, I'm your super cool friend. I'm your super cool buddy with Anik. But I mean, he doesn't mind. I mean, the panic room scene was cracking me up. And there must be a reason he knew to open that book and put him in the panic room. Why? Why did he put him in the panic room? Why did he cut off the communication to them so they couldn't hear what Zoe was saying? Why did he allow his phone to run out of juice? There's just too much here that makes me question Jasper and his intentions a little bit. So if anybody did it, and I'm starting to entertain the idea that they might pull a fast one on us and nobody did it and he just slipped and fell, I would say Jasper is my number one choice.
Adriana, what do you think? We've got Zoe's part of the story. The three of us collectively has said she is not the suspect. So do you have somebody that you're locked in on yet? You don't have to, but do you have someone more? I mean, has John convinced you? If we were in a court of law, would John Rocha convince you that Jasper is the guy? You know, if the glove fits, you know, you can't acquit.
So I was thinking a little bit more about Jasper, and with him also another good thing to bring up is he was relentlessly pursuing Xavier, like, hey, can you listen to my mixtape? Can you bless my mixtape or whatever? Right. And then Xavier keeps kind of like, you know, pushing him away, like, I'll get it to it. Maybe I won't. And then of course he says, oh yeah, we're going to record this thing. And then he doesn't do it because he goes off with Chelsea. And then Jasper seems a little bit upset about that, which I think is a really good motive. So maybe he's like, oh, hey, you didn't like respond to me. I thought, you know, we were friends or something, and then push or something like that. So I guess thinking more about it, he is a good suspect, especially with access to the house and the installation of the equipment. Walter is still kind of in the back of my, Walt is still in the back of my mind a little bit, because I do have that kind of twisted theory that maybe he did it in order to get recognition so people would finally pay attention to him and like him. So that's kind of in the back of my mind. And then my third choice, oh my goodness, I forgot her name. She's barely around. They don't really bring her up much.
Indigo.
Indigo. Yeah. She, I don't know, because she has like a little like vignette, like the black and white story for like 2 seconds in the beginning, but they don't really show her much after that.
But I liked her animated character. It was funny.
Yeah, her animated character, yeah.
But other than that, those are my 3 theories. But so I guess we'll have to go along with Jasper for now, but we'll see.
God, man, it's so interesting because throughout this whole series, I don't know, maybe just because I liked his musical episode and everything, like I just haven't been behind Jasper being the guy. But you know, I'm being more convinced. Like John, you make a very convincing argument because it even makes me think about the Super Bowl this past weekend. You know, you got Dr. Dre, you got Snoop Dogg, these legendary guys, and they're doing, you know, California Love, and you know, Tupac's not there. You know, Tupac's gone, but like that song has kind of gotten more into the stratosphere because you know, Tupac's gone. So it's like it would kind of make sense of the motivation if Jasper did kind of just chuck him off and he has access to all the equipment. Yeah, it would like definitely boost his thing, being like, I'm the last guy that had some version of a collaboration with Xavier.
That's a great point. I hadn't even thought of going that far in my mind. If he's got a collaboration with Xavier, yeah, he could use that and sell it off his death. That's a great point. Oh my God.
You know, was it like something you brought up last week? Like with like, you know, like the superstars who die at like the peak of their fame, like, you know, the Kurt Cobains of the world, like when he's like dies at his peak, he can easily, Jasper can easily like capitalize off of that legacy that he left. Something like that.
Even though Mr. G movie reviews didn't like my theory, because I was almost just kind of saying like, because John, I know like the one thing that you don't like is he slips on a piece of shrimp and dies. And it's like, I'm hoping that's not it either. But I was hoping like maybe he martyrs himself and he becomes like, you know, like a Kurt Cobain or like a Chris Cornell, or he becomes like a Jim Morrison, Marilyn Monroe, Elvis. Well, Elvis is kind of old anyway, but like a Marilyn Monroe, you know, die young, James Dean type situation, to where it's like, because like they're at the top, they die young. They, you know, they stay forever. You don't get to see them old and fat and wrinkly and everything. That's right, John. I forgot that you were that the other week. I think that you were. Yeah, that's right. You were watching something maybe like when I was going off about that. But
yeah. And 42 is not old, by the way. That's when Elvis died. He was only 42, Rick. It's not that far away from you.
Oh, really?
Yes, he was only 42. 42 is still young.
Dang, man.
He barely out of your 30s. Come on now.
Elvis lived hard.
Yeah, he did. He did.
He lived hard. I think it's just because he had so many peanut butter, you know, banana sandwiches is why I think that he's a lot older. Oh man. I apologize to the Yeah, I apologize to the King, Elvis Presley. I apologize to Lisa Marie. I apologize to Riley Keough. I apologize to Priscilla Presley too. It's like, so 42. Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, hilarious. That's really funny. All right. So, one last thing.
Wait, who's your choice? Did you get to say who you think it is? Who do you think it is? Adriana? Who do you think?
You've helped sell me more on Jasper for sure.
Okay.
I still like my thing about the martyrdom, but whatever. And this is what I want to touch on. Because we did see a little glimpse, a little bit more than everybody else in their stories, is Jennifer 2 as the mean girl.
Yes.
We finally get the revelation of the text, like Jennifer 2 is telling Zoe, hey, it was me that was messing around with Chelsea just because I don't like her.
Right.
Or as revenge, supposedly in some form of friendship to Zoe and loyalty or whatever that was. And Zoe didn't buy it. But Jennifer too, still, she still kind of manages to, kind of be around there. So, but there was that storyline. So I don't know what you guys thought as kind of like that conversation between the two of them. Adriana, I'll start with you.
Yes, I thought it was interesting. She's being really petty for no reason. It's been so many years, and like, why are you wasting your time trying to antagonize someone you haven't probably had contact with in so long? And of course, I didn't buy that either when she's like, oh, I'm just trying to avenge you, Zoe. And I think the good thing is that Zoe was just like, nah, that's not cool. But yeah, I just didn't really understand like her exact reasoning for that, besides like, I don't like her, Chelsea. And it's just
John, what do you yeah.
So
like she's still kind of missing, right? Because she like went missing and then we haven't seen her since. So that's an interesting thing.
Right. Yeah. Right.
He still hasn't reappeared.
But John, you brought up a good point too, though. Like, I mean, there's Jennifer too, and Ned's still kind of there too, and we don't know a lot about Ned, and I'll tell you what, it reminds me of back in the day, like maybe like 10, 15 years ago, when they had Survivor on television and they brought the first Korean guy to come in from day one. I said, Yul Kwan in that Survivor, he is going to win the whole thing. And he absolutely did it. So in this situation, I can see like with this Kelvin Yu, the Asian guy, Ned, how they can kind of throw it and say, hey, you know what? We'll never suspect the Asian guy to want to kill the rapper guy or whatever. So but we have 2 episodes left. In that final episode, they've got to wrap up the story. So, John, final thoughts then, knowing that we have 2 episodes.
Who's Ned with? Catherine 1?
He's with Jennifer 1.
Jennifer 1. Sorry, Jennifer 1. So Tia Sakar. He's with Tia Sakar. Okay. Because I got a weird feeling, because you were mentioning Jennifer too, and like Adriana said, she's disappeared a little bit. She hasn't been around as much. We've seen her. I mean, what if she's pregnant with Xavier's child, and Ned has always wanted to be with Jennifer 2, not Jennifer 1. So maybe there's a little bit of jealousy in there, and then maybe Ned's the one that did it. There's all kinds of games you can play right now, because Ned is kind of a blank slate. You don't have a lot to go on with Ned or Indigo. Both of them are kind of like, they haven't been fleshed out yet. Even Jennifer 2, we've seen her be kind of the mean girl, but we haven't seen enough. We haven't seen anything of her backstory really, other than in high school with Jennifer 1. So there's a lot of things to explore here. What I think, well, looking at the ending of the episode, that's where my mind goes to with Danner, with Tiffany Haddish's character. What are we going to find out? Like, there is something with her that is off. She's off in some way. And I just feel like there's something here that we're going to discover or find out about her. Did she go to this high school too? Or did she have somebody who did go to that high school? Did she set this whole thing up because she wants to solve this crime?
That's a good one, dude. Yeah.
Is she actually a detective? Like, what are these 2 actors? Like, I don't know what's going on here. Is this a whole thing that Xavier has set up, kind of like an escape room type thing, or kind of figuring out a murder mystery type thing as a special birthday present or a reunion present for everyone in the high school? Maybe he's not actually dead. So I'm just throwing that out there. There's a massive twist coming, I believe, over the next 2 episodes that are going to blow our minds. And I hope they stick the landing, because this has been a fun show. So I want the twist to be something that makes sense, makes us go, oh my God. And then they stick the landing with that twist in the final episode. So there's something here with Detective Danner. I know there's something that she's not telling because she seems a bit unstable or off herself and a very weird detective. And remember, she took that sword and cut Xavier's caricature's head off when they were in that room, in that closet room. And she was scared and thought she was and swung that thing and cut the head off. So to me, that makes me wonder what this person's all about. Because if that had been a real human being, she didn't even know if it was real or not. She just swung that sword. So that tells me something's a bit unstable here with Danner, and we're going to find out in the next 2 episodes.
Adriana, final thoughts either on this episode or some stuff that John just kind of touched on with like Ned, or, and I'll say like, the next episode for everybody that's watching it's definitely going to be about Detective Danner, the Tiffany Haddish character, before we get to the finale. So Adriana, some final thoughts from you.
So I am interested in, I did kind of watch ahead, for that last episode, but I am interested to see like how Danner's story like kind of ties in with everybody else's, because she's the detective, so she's interviewing all these people. So I think, are we going to see more of her like thought process, like how she's like doing this thing in her mind, or of course where it's like not obvious to us, but it might like click all of a sudden to her, and then she's like, oh, I know who it is now. So that's what I'm kind of interested in seeing. I will say, like, I guess as my general thoughts, like Lord and Miller are very talented and they've done a lot of stuff I really enjoy. So I feel like I do have faith that the ending is going to be good and hopefully like knock our socks off and shock us and give us with a discussion. So I am really looking to be, I guess, I feel like they're going to throw us for a loop, in my opinion. Like we have our theories, but I think they're probably going to go left field with this, but it'll either way. I have faith in them.
And I want to say, sorry, Adrian, go ahead. Finish. Sorry about that.
Oh no, I think I'm finished.
Okay, I just want to say real quick, I have not watched ahead, so I am not in any way cheating or anything. I don't know what's going on. I have not watched ahead, so I swear on the soul of my dead father, I have not watched ahead. But these are my guesses, so I just want to make that really clear. I don't want to. Yeah.
There's only like one episode they gave us. So the final episode is not there at all. So I have a feeling we'll have to watch it like live with everybody else.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Oh, that'll be great. So same thing. It's just like I've seen the Danner episode, but like it's been a while, so it's like I'm even like I've already kind of forgotten about it. But I have not seen the finale. None of us have. So don't worry. We've never ever predicted about what we think is going to happen towards the end. So we'll see what happens there. But also, hey, episode 6, Zoe's episode. I want to know from everybody that's watching, listening, please feel free to put down your thoughts in the comments, because like I said, I love reading them and try to give you guys a shout out next week or in the next 2 weeks and everything. But
especially if you call Rick out.
Yeah, especially if you call down. That's fun. I enjoy it. So, Adriana, where can everybody find you?
So you can check out my website, thecinemasoloist.org. And then also you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Adriana in Bloom.
And John Rocha, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, you can always find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm on Twitch, The Outlaw Nation. Going to start doing some watch-alongs of movies there through Amazon Prime. Been doing some sports watch-alongs. I had 2,000 people join me for the Super Bowl. Really kind of y'all to hang out. So building that community more and more. So come and hang out there with me as well. And my podcast, The Top 10, The Cinephiles, and The Geek Buddies. And my YouTube channel, The Outlaw Nation, youtube.com/John Rocha Says.
And if you guys tuned into John Rocha's Super Bowl thing, I feel sorry for you because he calls himself the Outlaw. So he thought that the Cowboys were playing, but it's okay. It's okay. He thought that the Cowboys were playing, so I'm sure that was a really entertaining watch. So anyways, I'm Rick Hong. You guys can find it on all social media at Rick Hong and also HollywoodFirstLook.com. We thank you for watching the Hollywood Critics Association after show of the After Party. Because we are the After Party, we'll be here next week. And don't forget to put stuff down in the comments and have a great night.